Hello! Hi everyone. Hopefully you can all hear us. Say something, Natalie.
Hello, I am here.
um, Tell us if our levels are bad or good or whatever. Please, chat. We implore you. Hi, welcome to my channel, the Law Mistress's channel. Today we are playing Insatiable Cravings by Jay Stroutman. What a game. We're very, very excited to be playing this game. These past couple of months, I have been trying to spotlight more like duets and two-player games because I don't think that they're played enough on actual plays and streams and things like that, and they deserve a lot more love and a lot more attention, I think. So this is one of the ones I've chosen, and my lovely fellow player here, Natalie, has dressed up amazingly, and we are ready to play this insane game. I can see that the game's creator is in chat, so
Yes.
hello.
Hello.
We're really excited to play. Please forgive us if we don't know all of your rules off by heart immediately. We've been playing it a lot. We've been reading it a lot today, but
At the end of the day, it's all making a great story. What if we flub a rule a little bit here?
yeah. Yeah, we're both excited to play. So I will just briefly introduce myself. Obviously, my name is Kat. I am the Law Mistress, also Law Mistress 93 on a lot of socials. I'm a writer, I'm an editor, and I play a lot of games on Twitch. That was a more recent thing, but that's something that I do a lot now. Yeah, that's pretty much me. And in this game, there is two, I guess, playbooks or roles. There is the monster and there is the admirer. I wonder if you can tell which is which. I will be playing the admirer. And I've got this. It's already starting to itch just ever so slightly, but you know, beauty is pain or some bullshit like that. I will be playing the admirer. And over to you, Natalie. Introduce yourself, please.
Yeah, so I'm Natalie, she, they. You can find me most places on the internet with Ghost Candle or Ghostly Candle on Twitch and YouTube. I'm a variety streamer person, but mainly I'm an artist and an actual play performer. I love this stuff. I love playing with my friends that I've been making through the years, and super excited to play this game. Also, shout out to Kat using my art for our play mat and stuff. It's very exciting to see it up. And if you
exciting.
So exciting because during our conversation setting this game up, when we were going through like our session 0 and stuff, I got inspired to do like, oh, I want to make a little fairy tale page, and then Kat ran with it.
You just sent it to me like literally 12 hours later. You were like,
I was like, look what I sketched. Quote unquote sketched.
And I was like, we gotta use this. So yes, all that beautiful artwork that you can see on our playmat is by the very, very talented Natalie. Including the little logo. You can see the dove and the raven. That is also, and then I have created the way that the playmat looks. So very, very excited to use that and get into it. Before we start, I have just a couple of I guess admin bits to go through. So obviously, Insatiable Cravings is a two-player game. It is a very, I would describe it as dark romance. Is the vibe, deliciously dark, but yes, it can have some themes of romance, obviously betrayal, manipulation, violence, exile, power dynamics, and other topics that might be a little intense or uncomfortable for some people. If you find that those things are uncomfortable for you, or anything that we sort of discuss in game or comes up makes you feel uncomfy, then please protect your own headspace. I really appreciate you coming and supporting, but I would rather that you feel safe and happy than stick around. So feel free to skedaddle out of here if this feels like it's not the stream for you. The other thing that I need to tell you all about is that we are running a giveaway for this game, because the game's creator, thank you so much, has kindly given me a copy to give away. So all you need to do in order to enter is type enter, exclamation mark enter, all as one word. Let me just get the prompt in there, and then we will see. That should work. Yes, there we go. We're giving away a copy of Insatiable Cravings. So thank you so much to the game's creator, and we will feel free to enter. It is open to any and all, and I will announce the results of that giveaway at the end of the stream. With that said, I think that we might be ready to start, don't you?
Oh, I think so.
I think so. I don't think there's anything else. At some point, I'm just going to go, aha, and then I just have to cut back to it. But no, I won't do that really. All right. Well, almost everyone knows that to see a raven is to look death in the eye. Centuries of superstition surround the sight of one with foreboding. So the sight of a person with black feathered adornments and riches and power over their home is enough to leave townsfolk reeling with fear. And when people visit their underground lair and return barely a husk of their former selves, if at all, well, now we have a monster. But the raven is not the only bird to have flown into town recently. Soon after, a dove arrives, and with her song comes peace, hope, and the attention of the raven. So, we have already done a little bit of world building, because there is a little bit of sort of world building beforehand. We have already kind of discussed our setting and our story and the flavor of monstrosity, which we will get into in a bit. But now we will go into a little bit of extra world building, and we will take it in turns to sort of ask each other questions. Let's describe our characters first, though. I think so. Tell me, what does your monster look like? What's their presence like?
Yeah, so I mean, at a distance, it just seems like a very tall, dark individual adorned in a feathered cloak, raven dark hair. But as you approach close, the sharper feature that amongst the hair is dark feathers, or maybe the hair is dark feathers, that the dark makeup has little peaks of feathers within the brow. And there's just a coldness in their stance, and their dark gray eyes hold a steady gaze as though always searching for something. Very gothic and very, in terms of presence, not really aloof, but almost a dark, like that grim fey essence of lingeringness, and they just seem to hop in and out in different spaces.
All right. And my admirer is dressed in a sort of beautiful sort of flowing white dress, very like puffy sleeves, corseted top, has kind of these sort of almost like feather-like flowers lined in her hair, very flowy, very and a very different presence, I feel, like all smiles and songs she likes to sing as she kind of like walks through. And I think that she still comes across as different to those that encounter her, a little kooky, a little eccentric, maybe a little head in the clouds, and hopeful. But she has one of those kind of smiles that even when she smiles at you, you can't help but smile back, even though you have no idea who she is and why she's smiling at you, and what that could mean. And I think her hair is sort of like it's got a slight wave to it, and it's a little kind of like frizzy and messy at the back, and yeah, I think she kind of just wonders, and not many people really know who she is or what she's doing here. All right. In this case, then, so we have some questions at the beginning of the game. It kind of gives you some questions that you can ask each other. And we have decided to kind of help to break things up a little bit. We're going to ask a question at the beginning of each phase. So we will skip over those for now and come back to that at the beginning of phase 1 in just one moment. But at the moment, we're going to have a little look at what the monster's lair might be like. So the monster gets to describe their lair. So that's you. You get to describe what your lair looks like.
So the Raven's lair is actually underground. There's a bit of a winding stairway that comes down into it. And as it opens up into the chasm and sort of the underground, you see just a upside down cathedral like hanging. It could be stalactites. Is it lights or tights? I always forget that one. But it literally looks like hanging rock
Yes.
until you realize it's sharp points of like gothic cathedral adornments and buttresses and just all these structures holding it up. Um, Painted in like blacks and deep purples and shining glasses. There's always bits of glitter everywhere that it looks at first glance almost like a night sky until you start realizing there's shapes within the shadows. And entering into it, you just see the wide, clear halls littered with all these different collections of things. It's not just the Raven King down here, but they do enjoy collecting pretty things.
Collecting pretty things, you say.
Mm.
And a pretty little dove has just come into town, you say.
So different and unique.
Yeah. Oh no. Uh-oh. Okay. And now I get to outline why it's not as secure as the monster thinks. And I think that kind of comes from the fact that it is underground. It's like sort of almost like this upside down, like gothic kind of like castle type thing, where it's just like this beautiful, gorgeous place, but it's underground. But of course, like there's a lot of tunnels and things underground, and I think that while it is beautifully built and there's like, you know, the stone is strong and everything like that, I think there's a lot of interesting secret passages that might lead into unexpected areas of the castle, and they're kind of, their entrances have been covered. I imagine that probably a lot of them have been kind of like sealed off in some way, but perhaps not as well as the Raven King might like, and you know, more and more constantly being discovered. It's a never-ending job to try to to try to seal off all of various different entrances and exits, and I think like there's just a lot of tunnels that can lead down to this place. Not that anyone would go down them, because why would they want to end up there, down there with a monster? But yeah, I think that's why it's just not as secure, because there's a lot of ways in and a lot of ways out as a result. All right, so now we get to populate our setting with some locations and locals. We get to write them down and keep them close, and then we can reference these and use these in phase 1 and phase 2, or we can, I think when I read about phase 1 and phase 2, you can kind of use these as some starter ideas, or you can move on and do something completely different, but it's just to kind of get the general world going. So I think that because I will begin by describing a location, and then you get to describe a person who is often found there. I think that we've sort of established by the castle that this raven is quite rich and wealthy and affluent. So I think that the reason why they have established themselves here is because there is a large orchard up above that belongs to the raven. I think it's sort of just outside of this generic fantasy town. I really wanted to say Barovia. It's giving me that vibe.
No, I am far better than God.
Yeah. But I think it's sort of like this, and it's this really large sprawling orchard with all of these fruits that are interesting and strange. They're kind of harvested here and sent off to various different places. No one in the village eats them, and some of them are sort of brought down to the Raven King as well. But the orchard itself, I think the trees are just like they're a little twisted and strange, and they don't quite look like they belong in this world. And the fruits that they produce, they're sort of similar to fruits that you might recognize, like apples and oranges and things like that. But they're not the same. There's just something a little bit off about them, that they smell sweet and delicious, but I think that they're not quite right. They seem like they're not how they're supposed to be, and no one can really say what they are, like what the names of the fruit are. It's just that they have like the people that sort of run it or work there, they have specific instructions that these fruits are supposed to go to different places, but they don't have like any information on what they are, only that they are nourished by the kingdom below, by something that is happening below. The trees are nourished by something that is happening below, that is as a result of this Raven King.
Interesting. So a person that would be found here often. I think there's just this one person the townspeople kind of refer to as the caretaker. They were always here. They don't know, no one really knows the full extent of their backstory, but it is an older individual, has very like grandparent vibes, but like the grouchy grandparent. And they're always looking after the orchard, and they're not necessarily the collector or any of ones that come up to collect for the Raven King, or people from town that come to get their share of fruit. They're just someone that wanders the orchard from dawn till dusk, trimming the branches, cleaning up any rotten fruits, shooing away any pests or anyone that could be stealing, or at least giving warning that if you steal, Well, there may be a curse upon you.
Ooh, a curse, you say? I love that. I love that. Just known as the caretaker. Just like the fruits are nameless, the person looking
Yeah.
after them is also nameless. Just
Yeah.
so far, no one in this place has any kind of real name. Just a
Maybe
moniker.
we are like Fae related. Just like don't release your real name or you'll be taken.
Nobody say your real name. All right. So it's now your turn to describe a location, and then I am to describe a person that will often be found there.
All right. So this location I have in mind is just referred to as the promenade, and it is the sort of a main large street from town that leads to the large arch that goes into the Raven King's lair down below. And this promenade, very old built. It has a lot of stone that has some moss coverings and sort of climbing vines along the walls. And people set up stalls here. And there's just smells of like old red wine, elderberries, signs of birds like magpies and crows and ravens that hop around and linger about in and out. Vendors that come mostly from town, but when people traverse, it's almost like they tell everyone walk the promenade to pay respect. They don't remember why they have to do it. They just worry that if they don't do it, problems will come if you want to stay in town. So you have to
Curse
walk
be
the
upon
promenade.
you.
Curse be upon you. And there is like a superstition of to leave a coin somewhere to be found, and people will see the ravens or the magpies picking up the coins and fluttering off. Yeah, I think that's a good start.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent start. I love that there's a lot of Corvid activity. Just like he's always watching. Now a person that might always be often be found here. I'm gonna go with a moniker again. And I'm gonna say you will often find the acolyte here. A lot of the town sort of resent the presence of the Raven or the Raven King, but I think that the acolyte almost seems to revere it, and they are near constantly found in this promenade, sort of walking up and down the streets, making sure to fix anyone who is not paying tribute or the right sign of respect with a sort of a glare. And the birds that you mentioned will often kind of fly down and land on the acolyte's shoulder. I think that she's got a very sort of severe look. Her hair is pulled right back. It is jet black hair, but with this sort of like silver streak through it, and she resembles a magpie in a lot of ways. She's kind of got that like and a very sort of like beaky nose, with a sort of a little bit of a slight disjointedness to it. And I think she makes sure that the Raven's name is not disrespected. Certainly not in this street. Behind closed doors, she doesn't interfere. But in this street, if anyone, even if they're the other side of the street, was to say anything disrespectful, they would soon find the acolyte at their shoulder. And I think that she sometimes sort of will take and almost sort of deliver a sermon. She will sort of take to this like plinth that has been constructed in the middle of the promenade and sort of deliver almost like a sermon. But it's the words that she's saying are strange, and the sentences like don't make sense. It's like it's almost a sermon just for herself, really. She doesn't seem to care if people are listening or walking away or anything like that. She just kind of says a series of sort of strange sentences and words that seem almost muddled, and then she will continue her watchful gaze. I love
it.
One goes. We got the caretaker, we got the acolyte, the raven, the dove. Who else?
Oh man.
Oh, it's my turn now.
Yeah, you get to describe one other location and then
one other location. Now, this could be a location inside the castle, couldn't it? Because we've had a couple that are sort of outside in the village area. So I think I'm gonna go with a grand ballroom with it. And I think that what first of all makes this room strange and different to maybe some of the other rooms in the castle is its emptiness. I think we've talked about like a lot of like trinkets and pretties sort of stacked within the castle down below. This room is just purely empty with only like the odd sort of candelabra around and a sort of sweeping staircase in the middle. Very gothic, like Beauty and the Beast style, Disney's Beauty and the Beast sweeping staircase, but a sort of more terrifying version of that. And the floors are just sort of like there's this sort of slight layer of dust in there. It's not polished and pristine like the rest of the castle is, and it seems purposefully kept empty. You know, other rooms are sort of stuffed to the brim with things, but no one seems to have thought to use this room as a storage room, or perhaps they are not allowed. But in its own way, it seems to be very carefully preserved in some way to keep a state that is not to be touched. There are sort of like there's these sort of this sort of like thin layer of dust and these sort of like treads where footprints once were, and they have not been cleaned. And there's sort of, you can see on the banister there's like a sort of a handprint where someone had once at some point put a hand there. That has been not cleaned either. So I think it's just like it's just strange in its lack of anything when compared to the rest of the castle, I think.
I like it. Empty ballroom. I get the vibes. So describe a person. I don't think it's necessarily a person, but a collection of creatures that help maintain the perimeter around this space so that it never gets disturbed. They're almost like weird little goblin kanku creatures referred to as the Jays. They are very bird and monstrous like, but they're little. Some of them can look very cute, others more Sketsky from Dark Crystal.
No.
But they're all mostly feathered. They love going out and collecting the little things for their master. That's how they develop those piles of trinkets. And anything that isn't wanted, they either just toss it out into the caverns or send it back out into the world above. But it's these creatures that when the Raven King has no desire to do anything themselves, or if they are preoccupied, these little jays flutter about, scamper about, skitter about, making sure the collections are kept, making sure the doors to the ballroom never open unless the king were to ever say so, but they have never heard him say so. And they just, maybe there's a couple of the larger ones that keep guard just in case any of the other ones get curious, because they are curious little things, little creatures. But for the most part, they're just a collection of various bird-shaped entities just enjoying their time in the underworld, collecting and making chirps and click sounds at each other, and sometimes scampering up into the overworld to collect in all the gifts left from the promenade.
Mm-hmm. Polishing the shinies.
The shinies.
Polish the shinies. They sound equal parts terrifying and adorable, and I love them. I love them already.
Just think of them as like Jin Henson puppets. You're like, yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell yet where some of our inspirations might have come from for this particular scene? All right. So we've got a few sort of starting locations and people that we might encounter. Now I am to describe how the admirer, the dove, became interested in the monster. Um, and I think it comes down to, I think that the dove is very friendly, very chatty, and very curious about the world. And she's sort of come into this town and she's asking all of these questions. And people are sort of giving her these sort of smiles and sort of conversation and answering, and they're innocent questions at first, but then when she starts to dig deeper as to, but why is everyone here so uncomfortable and so miserable, and so she can feel this sort of tension, and she starts to probe because she's curious. She wants to know why everyone seems upset and they can only be happy around her, and then they're sort of like shoulders hunch again when she walks away. And it is the mention of this raven that even her brightest smile cannot elicit a smile back when the raven is brought up in conversation, and that's not something that she's used to seeing. So it piques her curiosity because if she is a force of happiness and joy upon the world, then this raven seems to be a force of misery, and she's curious to understand how this could come about. So I think that she's very I genuinely think she is curious to meet him. It's just all shrouded in this like mystery, and we don't go down there, and it's not safe, and all of this. But she wants to know if she can meet him and make him smile. This is like a scientific experiment. She's just curious.
It would be an interesting experiment. So now the monster, describes a quality about the admirer they notice, that the admirer keeps close to their chest. Ooh. That's interesting, because if the admirer for the raven, as they're watching from a distance, it seems the admirer is very open about how they're feeling, just very bright, and that curiosity, which they already kind of are intrigued by having someone be curious in a town where everyone's so dour. It gets boring when everyone's so dour, and it's hard to eat them when they're already miserable. You want to have a bit of fun.
I play with food.
It's something that the admirer keeps close to their chest. I think the raven notices that though the dove is very friendly and outwardly bright and whimsical, they do hold that string of like wanting a true, sincere friendship. Even though they're being warm and bubbly with everyone else, they haven't made that like tight connection yet with anyone in town.
Mhm.
and being like this dove coming into this place of, dark, sorrowful people. It's intriguing. You think someone would want to have a friend, so why not take and be a friend?
Uh-oh.
Select a friend.
So yeah, friends, yeah. All right. Okay. So in that case, we now get to decide together who sent the invitation to Dine. Now, this is a very interesting question. Was it the dove who sent a message to the raven to say, "I heard so much about you. We should eat together," or was it the other way around? Because I can easily see either being.
Yeah, they're both very curious about each other. It's a matter of whose curiosity is going to trigger it first.
Uh-huh.
Ooh.
I think it would be interesting, and I think it would be interesting if, and you can argue the other way if you like, and if this probably isn't the first time that a person has ended up going down to the Raven King's lair and coming back a little odd, or even if they come back at all. I think that the Raven King is known for sending invitations to dinner or to come and visit, and perhaps the dove has been warned countless times to keep your head down and to not ask too many questions, because you might find yourself with an invitation. And then I think that perhaps what the dove does is waits and waits for this invitation to come and nothing happens. So then she writes her own invitation where she essentially invites herself, and sort of slips it on some shiny golden trinket attached to it, and leaves it on the promenade for one of the jays to pick up and send back to the king. And I think it'd just be interesting if just so many people are like, "Don't, you're going to attract his attention," and she's like, "I'm gonna."
That's what I want.
That's exactly what I want. So I think it's a very sweet and sincere. A very sweet and sincere letter that's just like, "You're the only person in town that I haven't met yet," and I would so very like to meet you. Kind of. Perhaps we can do dinner. I've heard that you don't really like to come up above, but I would of course be happy to come and visit. Should you permit it? Sort of invitation.
Mm-hmm. No, I like it, and I think the Raven King would be incredibly intrigued by the boldness of it.
Mm-hmm.
Not
audacity,
but like, because other than maybe the acolyte, no one really tries to send missives to the Raven King.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the Jays will collect things. Sometimes they'll tell whatever rumors or things they heard from up above to him. But yeah, he would very much respond and let the dove know that more than welcome to come into the lair. Plenty of space. Just may have to bring some food.
Mm-hmm.
That could be edible.
Mm-hmm. And it would 100% in the invitation would be like, I will bring something. I will cook you something and bring it for us to eat together.
Delightful. I love being spoiled.
Hey.
Hey.
The appetizer. All right. So we have kind of done our sort of group world building. So now we get to start to do the slightly scary fun part, and we get to start to do cards. Now, we are using, just for transparency, we're using like an online card. I've set up like a little virtual room, so that we may have hands and we can kind of draw cards ourselves. We essentially must pull a card to begin with to find out what our initial craving is. It will be something that we will keep secret, so none of you will know until the end what our craving cards are, and it can be changed along the course of the game at key points. But to begin with, if we draw a red card, our intent is to do harm to the other. Be it in the monster's case to consume the other, or in the dove's case to poison the other. If we draw a black card, our intent is to be more curious. The monster would like to hear out what the dove has to say, or the dove would genuinely just wants to nourish the monster and give a nice, lovely meal. That's obviously something that we draw, and then throughout the game we can try to change it, and that will be secretly, so we will never know until right at the end when we reveal our hand what each other's intentions are, and then that will set the tone for the epilogue, I suppose. So with that said, let's head over to our card drawer and draw our first card. All right, so we now have our craving card. And yeah, we'll have an opportunity to swap that out at the end of phase 1 and at the end of phase 2, should we want to. And that's to kind of show perhaps changing desires or changing thoughts over the course of sort of the conversation and lead up to this meal. All right, so now we will begin to play scenes, and we will start with phase 1. We are essentially in phase 1 gathering, in my case, gathering ingredients, and in the monster's case, possibly gathering information. And we will, while one of us plays our character, the other one will play as a sort of scene director and play the other NPCs, and we will be sort of asking each other questions and such. Before we start that, let's ask our first scene setting question to each other. So mine to you is oh no, you ask yours to me first. The monster asks, the admirer responds.
So, in our setting, who fears the monster most?
I mean, it feels like an easy answer to just say the townspeople. There is a generic sense of fear, I think, throughout the townsfolk. But I think in a lot of ways, the person that fears the monster the most could possibly be the acolyte. There's a level of reverence there that borders on zealotry, and it is because they fear what will happen if they are rejected. If the Raven King were ever to turn around and say, I have no need of you, or I have no need of this worship, they would be left with nothing, truly nothing, because all they have is their faith and their commitment to the Raven. So I think the person that would fear the monster the most is them. They see when they kind of do this sort of like coming up to people and that are sort of disrespecting the raven and thing, they don't see it as them trying to enforce any kind of order. They see it as a genuine desire to help people understand that the raven's presence is an inevitability, something that they cannot stop, and they would do better to. They don't want to see these people hurt, and they know what could happen should they be disrespectful or rude or unkind. So I think that it comes born from a place of they're trying to protect others, but they are also trying to protect themselves. They only have that and nothing else. And now I get to ask you, who knows the admirer best? This is an interesting question.
Yeah, because the dove is new to town. Hasn't been here too long, but I think there was this older woman that welcomed you in first, and you end up relating a lot to each other. She knows a lot of the fairy tales of the area, which of course curiosity piques, so it's fun to learn from her. She does give a lot of warnings of, various tales. She even has one tale of being in her youth of warnings saying, the raven will just eat your heart and run off with it, and you'll never recover from that. You'll just be stuck here like the rest of us, so be careful. And she's sort of like a more rounder woman, wears a lot of purple. Some people just refer to her as the witch.
I was gonna say the witch. Yes. Everyone's getting a moniker in this. Yep. No one's got a name.
No one has a name, which maybe that's one of the tales she tells. Like, we don't go by names here because if the Raven King hears, he will have a power over you. So, because we don't even know the Raven King's true name either. But I think the dove brings in that warmth and bubbliness, the witch sort of opens up more and shows her herbs and protections and like, oh, if you ever need to poison somebody, here's what you use.
I would never. Madam Witch. I could never.
Well, that's one day maybe, but we'll see. Never isn't always never.
Never say never.
Never say never. But yeah, and she has that personality of having a past she sort of regrets, and appreciates the dove's openness and is able to relate to her on that curiosity, which helps her be a little more curious again through the dove. And how she gets to know the admirer the best is having that kind of connection of curiosity.
I love that. All right. Cool. So we've answered those questions. We now get to start our phase one. We will both draw 5 cards, and we can select up to 3 to discard and redraw. The discard pile sits face down between the 2 players. That's interesting because I'm not sure that this card room will allow us to put things down face down, but we'll see. So let's each draw 5 cards first.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we can select up to 3 to get rid of and redraw.
Yes.
Oh yes, it does let you put it down face down. Okay, let's do. So this is going to be our discard pile that I've just put here.
I'm happy with my cards.
Oh gosh, that sounds ominous.
No. It could be anything.
It could be anything. Okay, let's replace. All right. All right. Well, I mean, that's what I've got now. So, cool. So then, our first scene, in which the active player is the monster, and the scene director is me, the admirer. You will be answering the questions: where did the admirer come from? What do they seek? Does their arrival place tension on your other relationships? So I think that. So I think that you are. We decide upon we kind of collaborate together now, don't we? To decide upon. We're using our mood cards to decide upon like a location and the NPCs that we might encounter. And for each scene, so before we start the scene, we select mood cards, clubs, diamonds, and spades from our hand, place them face up on the table. Scene director selects 2 mood cards, and active player selects 1. If you're the scene director, you must select 2 cards of different suits. So I'm the scene director, so I'll be selecting 2, and we cannot select hearts. So you can all see on our play mat, I've got a clubs, which is location, I think, and I've got so many tabs open. Yes, clubs is location, diamonds is atmosphere, and spades is the NPC demeanor. So we'll play our mood cards now and decide upon like a sort of general of those 3 things. I choose 2 of them, you choose 1, and then we will go from there, I think. And it was those questions in mind. So, I don't think that the value is obviously the value is to do with the prompts, isn't it? So, what have I got? I'm going to pick. I'll pick one, then you pick one, and then I'll pick one. Does that sound agreeable?
Works for me.
I'm gonna pick somewhere empty as my location. So I've picked the 7 of clubs, which is for somewhere empty. You may now choose either an atmosphere or an NPC demeanor.
I'm going to go with NPC because I only have 1 card for atmosphere and I don't like it for the place you picked. So I'm going to play the King of Spades, which is an NPC who is watchful.
Ooh, okay. And thank goodness, because I didn't have any space. So I'm gonna play my Ace of Diamonds, and that atmosphere is whimsical, which is interesting. So an empty, whimsical place and an NPC that is watchful. And with that in mind, I guess now we kind of come up with the scene together. With those things in mind. And we can at any point play hearts that are wild cards. And they prompt specific actions like forcing re-rolls for the dice, which will come up a little bit later, and drawing cards. We may each only play 1 heart per scene, but you can play it anytime, basically, during the scene. So or a challenge. Yeah, so I think that we could, I guess we just build this together, right? There's not me, I'm the scene director, so I guess I start and you tell me how you feel about it.
Yeah.
I think in terms of a goal or a challenge for this one is to I think it's going to be to attempt to discern information from I'm gonna say that the NPC, the watchful NPC, is our acolyte. Because we're kind of talking about has it put any strain on any like relationships, and I think that there's not necessarily a relationship beyond like master and servant, but this acolyte is a tad skittish and is very watchful, and should there be any indication that this interest in this dove is beyond the usual sort of interest that the raven might take in a sort of like a passing fancy of someone that they might want to inquire about, the acolyte could become jealous. Or I think that they're easily jealous, they're easily frightened and need placating about, you know, have I done a good job, are you pleased with me, type thing. And so I think and then what will the acolyte's response to jealousy be? We don't know. So I think that the raven has the job of managing this interaction, of not showing too much interest but also getting the answers that they want from the acolyte about the dove. Do you have any ideas about the place? I mean, somewhere empty immediately made me think of the ballroom, but I don't know what your thoughts are.
My thought might be, because we can also hit areas in between, so my thinking is that at dusk, Raven King sends out his jays to ask the acolyte to come to the threshold of the lair. So at the end of the promenade, where it begins to break out and go into that archway that leads down, no one likes to go over that all, and even the acolyte gets a little scared if they're ever trying to approach that without an invitation. So it would be, I think that'd be a fairly empty spot.
Empty of people for sure. No one's going beyond that, like beyond.
Yeah, it's like promenade Ed, and there we go.
And that's where we don't go. Yeah, I think I think absolutely, and I think that this scene is set just after, maybe a day or two after the invitation has come to the raven, and the raven has sort of sent their response to say, yes, we will meet in a few days time, or on at this time and this date. And I think that the acolyte sends messages in a similar way to how the dove sent their invitation. Will sometimes write things on a piece of paper and sort of leave them on the street to be taken. And often the jays, like sometimes the jays sort of pick them up and then they take them, and sometimes they sort of leave them and they don't take them. And that's purely, the acolyte knows this is purely down to whether the master wants to read them or not, or has any interest in them. And so when the dove did the same thing and their like missive was immediately picked up and taken, I think that sparked that slight jealousy within, because no one else does that. No one else sends messages to the raven via the street. apart from the acolyte, and the acolyte's like, that's my thing, like that's our thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, just the audacity, the sheer audacity of it, and then just it was picked up, and that's slightly set her on edge. So I think she arrived, and she is in a place where she's had a day to ruminate on this, and now the Raven has summoned her, which does not happen often for a face-to-face conversation. So she's excited. You can probably see this, and she sort of arrives, and she sort of like bows her head respectfully, and she sort of, greetings.
So Raven King ascends up from the darkness. At first, only like the glints of just from the faintest of lights that remain in the area glint off their various plumage that adorns them. And they appear very quietly, keeping the best stern face as they can. They look down at the acolyte. How has the promenade been, dear?
The people remain respectful, as they well should.
Good, good.
They leave much pleasure for you.
So I've seen. Anything new happening you'd like to tell me?
She's definitely, you can see she's definitely like, she's waiting to figure out what it is that you want. And so I think that she knows where the conversation is heading towards, and she's trying to figure out a way of presenting it. And she says, no, we have had a new arrival in town, and she does not understand our ways quite yet. So you may have received a missive from her. By mistake. You know how I send you messages, and perhaps she thought that she must do the same. Before I could get to it to pick it up, one of your jays had already taken it. I apologize, my lord and master.
And the Raven King sort of just cocks his head a little bit, trying to keep that cool coyness. As they sort of at first just reach a hand out and then curl it back.
Oh. she'll like go to take it, but then the moment that you do that, she'll like sort of shrink in on herself again.
Well, my dear, you are very good at showing the people to be revered of me, right? Maybe she thought she needed to imitate one of my best acolytes.
Precisely my thinking. I have made sure that she is well aware that this behavior is not suitable. I would hate for your time to be wasted.
Well, that is appreciated, but I get to decide whether my time can be wasted or not.
Of course, of course. And she again like bows her head, but you can see like she's like everything that you're saying, she is analyzing it like, to the nth degree.
Yeah. And this time he does like put his hand all the way out and gets like a talon underneath her chin to lift up her head.
Oh. She kind of like exhales and just waits.
Well, she does need some guidance, but it is fun to play, is it not? To see what she brings to town that could be delicious.
She's brought very little of value. She doesn't work. She sings and walks. Her head is in the clouds. I could bring her to earth.
I don't know. I do like a little songbird. As crows and ravens only caw, but a songbird makes such beautiful music.
It's not a pretty voice. It's an impudent one.
Your opinion, I suppose.
And of course, my opinion does not matter to the whims of my master. And she kind of realizes that she might have spoken a little out of turn.
Yep. Well, I do very much love all the things you give that my little Jays collect. I know you try very hard. But I am intrigued at a new arrival. It brings entertainment. I haven't been entertained in a very long time. I would like to know things.
What would you like to know?
Just little things about this little dove. That way I can figure out the best way to play.
Of course. Anything specific?
I mean, it's always a wonder what it is they are looking for. Why come to my delightful little town? Why upset my darling little acolyte? What are they seeking?
Well, I shall continue to watch. But she likes to sing, as I said. And she kind of begins to hum a tune that's her favorite. And you know, her voice is not anywhere near the quality and the beauty of the doves, because you most likely have heard it at that point, sort of floating through the air. But it's a good imitation, and she gives a good idea of sort of like which one she likes to sing more. She tells you that she spends a lot of time with the witch. The witch is her favorite. They share some similarities, some interest in love of stories, myths, folk tales, legends, superstitions, and she is of a curious nature. She asks a lot of questions, uncomfortable questions, but she does not seem uncomfortable. I'm sure that this will change when she has spent more time with us, my master.
Yes. Being with the witch is an interesting choice. And though he always keeps an essence of trying to be as hard to read as possible, his eyes dart around a little bit, sort of back and forth, trying to think as he brings like some talons up to his chin before looking straight back at the acolyte. Well, I am intrigued, but I revive our little dove has come. I am intrigued what they could potentially become as they remain in our town.
She, as I said, asks a lot of questions. She does not seem frightened. While others avoid my gaze, she stares at it defiantly. When I preach, she asks me more questions. While I stand on my plinth, she listens while the others walk away. She is to your tastes in that she is unique.
He steps a bit closer to her, him now like bending forward a little bit, bring his head a little more to level. Well, I do think that having curiosity can be quite healthy in terms of what it can bring me. I mean, you were curious once, were you not? And isn't it nice to have someone listening to your words?
So long as she does not rise above her station.
She has opportunity to prove herself amongst the townfolk, as well as in my eyes, as you have once tried. And he goes back into his straightened posture.
She goes back to being sort of like cowed and slightly head bent.
I do see that she brings you great trouble, but you don't have to worry. You've been a most diligent acolyte. I hear your words from my depths. I hear your praises from my lairs. And the Jays do enjoy collecting trinkets when they're able.
We as we do this, we should be rolling 2d6 every so often to see how the conversation is going, which I've only just realized reading now, so apologies for that.
We're having too much fun RPing.
I thought it was like at the end, and then it's like, how did you do? But I have mistaken that little instruction. So roll 2d6 twice for me, and then I will give you a sort of brief understanding of how the conversation goes based on your
rolls. Okay, so first roll. All right, my first roll. Ooh.
How much is all together? Yeah.
Yeah. So my first roll was a 5 total.
5. So that is a failure. So I think that the way that manifests is just really through certainly in the beginning half of the conversation, you are not you're interested and you're intrigued by this dove, and you slightly send the balance off in terms of like that very precise balance you need to have with such a reverent acolyte of instilling fear and respect, but also praising them and telling them that they've done a good job. And it's a very precise formula that you are normally very good at with the acolyte. However, because you're distracted and your thoughts are kind of on the dove, and you ask just one too many questions, you admonish one too many times, and I think that the acolyte has noticed this shift, that you have you're paying a different kind of attention to this one than you do to your other playthings, shall we say. You can see, despite your best efforts to at points kind of like, with the talon on the chin and stuff like that to kind of bring it back, that there is in the acolyte's eyes a level of sort of resentment and bitterness and jealousy that has begun to grow. And it's not something that's going to easily be tampered down. I also get to draw a card at random from your hand because you failed so spectacularly. So, how cards do you have?
So I have 4, and because of how our system's set up, I just kind of turn them face down my hand and I'm shuffling them around so it can be at random properly in this instance.
Oh, are you just like moving them? Because I can just pick a number between 1 and 4, and then you take that one along.
Okay.
So I can't see your hand at all.
Yeah. So I guess pick a number. I do have them face down away, so you won't get any visual reaction from me on what card you've taken.
Oh, I see. I didn't know you could click them and make them face down. Okay. Yes. Perfect. I will pick number 3.
Number 3.
And I will take that and pop it in my hand. Lovely. Thank you. And just working out the card room mechanics.
Yep. On the fly. Let's go.
On the fly. Let's go. Okay. Now roll again, and we'll see if anything kind of changes or whether you manage to pick this conversation back up.
Yeah. This time much better. It is a 8.
An 8. That is a success. It's not like a powerful success, but it is a success. So I think you fairly quickly realize in the conversation that the power balance is off, and you basically turn the conversation to try to spin it. As we actually ended up kind of role playing, I think, as like, oh yeah, I am interested in this one, but she's going to need you to guide her. Like, I am interested in this one in a different way to how I'm interested in other playthings or fancies that I sort of like find myself interested in. You're right. How clever of you to notice. What a good acolyte you are for knowing my mind so well. I essentially, you sort of indicate that you might be interested in them potentially becoming another sort of like worship or acolyte like them, but of course below you, not like, not in charge of you or anything. You will need to guide them. You will need to show them the correct way, make sure that they don't upset me, because you know best how not to upset me. And I think this successfully manages to kind of lower that. It replaces that sort of like that bitterness, almost like she kind of turns it from this being this horrible, like, oh, I'm resentful of this and I'm bitter and I'm jealous, to oh, they've given me a gift. They've given me like it's like this is a gift I'm giving to you of another person that's going to worship me, that you get to control and you get to decide how they do that. And so now it's like a shining sort of reverence is back, and it's like, oh, I'm being given a gift. I'm being like, it's not a plaything for the master necessarily, it's a plaything for me, almost. And I think that's kind of how you manage to twist it, because you're like, it's too late for me to pretend that this is just another plaything, so I've got to kind of twist it into a way of like, oh, I want to do this for you. Yeah, we didn't, no one played any hearts. You're happy with that during the scene? You didn't play any hearts? Okay, perfect. All right, I guess we then swap over. We have not, we didn't actually use this playmat, which was where I was going to write all this stuff down, so we will do that for this one. So phase 1, scene 2, and the scene director is going to be you. So let's pop that up in transparency, and I will be the active player. Before we do that, did you want to take we are about half past now, did you want to take a break and then come back to it?
I think if you're okay with it, I think I'd like to finish the phase, and that way we have like a nice clean separation between phase 1 and the other 2.
Yeah, sounds good to me. All right. So that's the active players and the scene director chosen. Let's then, I guess we've chosen our 5 cards already. Do we do that at the beginning of each scene or each phase?
My understanding, it is phase unless you're under 2 cards, then you can draw a card because you want to be above 2.
Yes, you want to be above 2. That's right.
So since we've finished scene 1, discard the 3 mood cards and any wilds. So what we just set up for my scene is now off.
Pop it in the discard pile.
There we go.
All right.
And we now do it where I pick 2 moods and you pick a mood.
Yeah, so you pick a mood, then I pick a mood, then you pick a mood. And yeah, I think we've both got enough cards in our hand, so...
I will start. This could be interesting. Somewhere affluent.
Somewhere affluent. Ooh, that is interesting. All right. So we have reached a point where I do not have any spades or diamonds in my thing. So I think if you don't have it, if you can, you must select 2 cards. If you're the same direction, you must select 2 cards of different suits. So
okay. So if you only have clubs, I have a spade and a diamond.
You do? Would you prefer to just do it that way? Yeah?
Yeah, I can take back my club and you can play one of your clubs.
Okay, let's see what I can do. So... I'm going to... I'm gonna go with I'm gonna keep it kind of, you know, I mean, this is just how it is for us anyway, but I'm gonna say I'm gonna play the King of Clubs and say that this is somewhere new. It's kind of new anyway.
Yeah, it'll be new to the dove.
But it will be new to the dove, but it is somewhere new. So take from that however you want to take from that.
So somewhere new. For the atmosphere, that new is going to be a loud place.
Ooh.
And then for the NPC demeanors, they're uncomfortable.
Ooh.
This, new person recently coming to town. There's rumors about them asking questions. And why are they asking questions? I'm sure someone has told her, don't ask those questions. We must keep our heads down or the raven will pick us off.
Someone please tell her. Okay, so we got location. Somewhere new. Atmosphere. Atmosphere
Loud.
is loud. That's right. Loud. And I was about to say uncomfortable, and then I was like, no, that's the NPCs.
Yeah.
NPC demeanor, uncomfortable. Okay.
So how, from my director chair, I'm imagining this as this phase, you are trying to collect the ingredients to figure out the best meal to bring to the raven.
Mm-hmm.
But also you don't want to give off that you are doing this because that would make the townspeople very upset and the acolyte very, very upset, especially since it's been a couple days since the acolyte's conversation with the raven. So it is daytime, and you need I think a market in the town. Yeah. Even in the dourness of the townsfolk, it still gets pretty loud and active around the marketplace. People buying ingredients or trinkets or items they need to bring home, trying to find what little comforts they can amongst the space. There is various stalls of the fruits from the orchard that have come in, and there's always a different collection every day. Today it happens to be plums, but not the usual plums. They are of a deep sapphire blue coloration, and they smell like they have a bit of like a rose hip scent to them. And there's still that watery sweetness, and when you squeeze one, it feels like very full of juice, more like a blueberry than a plum. So there is those fruit stalls. There's some people have like gathered vegetables from their own gardens to bring and sell. Anything that may be too close to the point of this is going to rot if we don't give it away. And yeah, bustling townsfolk all around, arms filled with baskets, everyone minding their own business, trying not to lead into any conversations that could go tangent off into uncomfortableness. Um, and this is where you find the dove coming down the street. Uh, People noticing, some giving back smiles when she smiles, but otherwise trying to either make the sale or turning to whatever other conversations or interests or keeping moving on they do.
I think the dove comes into it, like sort of soaking in the atmosphere somewhat, and trying to get a real sense of how everyone's feeling, realizing that everyone's uncomfortable, and even though there's sort of like laughter and talk and chatter and stuff like that, everyone is sort of glancing across towards the promenade nervously, trying not to be too loud at points. I think that every so often one of those like jays may scurry past or do something, and everyone kind of tenses up, and you can see that the atmosphere is not one of a happy, bustling marketplace. It's one of a group of people pretending to be happy and bustling.
Yeah, it's very much a charade of we got to pretend like we're a happy living town.
We are all so happy here. And I think that she is drawn to that fruit stall with the plums. And you know, she's asked a lot of questions in town already so far. She probably knows about the orchard, and she probably knows about the odd, strange fruits and the rumors that kind of swirl around about what is grown there. And she'll have asked for certain the witch. But if there's one thing that the dove might be quite good at, it is asking questions, so playing ignorant. So she kind of comes across and she goes, "Oh my, I've not seen a fruit like this before. What is it?"
And popping up, putting another crate full of fruit on it is the caretaker. And he just sort of grumbles. And like,
Hey.
it's fruit. It's got juiciness. And he picks one up and with his bare, like bone gnarled hands, he rips it in half. And where that bright sapphire skin of this odd plum fruit is, there is a deep, like blood ruby interior. And the pit is just like a blackened pit. He just sort of shows it off, takes a bite, and it just juices all going down into his beard and face. And then just offers the other half. Like,
"Oh, may I?" And then she takes it, and without hesitation, she like eats some. No like discomfort, no like, oh, I don't know if I want to eat this. There's just this like, it's a curiosity again. She wants to know what it tastes like. She wants to she wants to like, he looked like he enjoyed it so much. I've got to have it. So she kind of like takes a big bite, and she's like, okay, it's fruit, but it must have a name. Where did it come from?
and one of his hands points as he like takes another bite in the direction of the orchard. Orchard. The depths feed the orchard.
Oh, the Raven's orchard? She continues to eat.
Yeah, he sort of narrows his eyes a little bit at the mention of the raven. Anyone that had come up initially are just like, oh, and start to scurry off around you.
He kind of looks around, looking a little confused, but
yeah. Give me a roll. I want to see if you can get him to talk more.
Yeah, I was gonna say this was like a good time to roll.
Oh no.
Oh no. It is a failure. It's a 6.
Okay. But you don't lose a card.
I don't lose a card.
Is fine. So yeah, when the dove mentions like just even the utterance of Raven, as we said, the people that were coming up have now like gone into hush mode and scurried off. The air of uncomfortableness is now high as his name has been invoked, almost like you're trying to call on a curse of some sort. And the caretaker goes into a more of a stoned face and a hard, narrow eye underneath the heaviness of the brows. It's like, Be careful invoking that name, Miss.
Miss. um, she kind of feigns this very like almost like a ghast expression of like I've offended and I did not mean to offend you. And she's like, I'm so sorry. I'm very new here. I simply just wish to know where to get these delicious fruits. Are they grown for them?
And he scratches at his beard a little bit. The juice is still like filtering through. Um, they're just grown. They be offered, and some of us take. There is always abundance in the orchard.
Is that something that they like to eat? These strange fruits?
Give me another roll.
I'm trying to find information.
Yeah.
Oh, this is better. This is much better. This is a 10.
Ooh.
This is a 10.
That's you get a card with that, yes?
I do. Oh, I do. Oh, yes. Okay. I thought that was just a success, but you're right. It is a special success.
Special success. So you draw a card. And
lovely. And I think she kind of says it with this, just like I didn't in that moment, but I think she sort of almost does it in like a way that's like complimenting. She's like, I just thought that you would be the best person to ask because I'm told that you work at that orchard, and I've been so curious, and you do such a good job looking after all the plants and like kind of like trying to, I guess, appeal to his like sense of like ego and like hard work and
yeah.
So
as the dove kind of recovers from that first initial like, oh no, I said something I shouldn't have, and now is going to that complimentary, he starts nodding along and is like, yeah, well, they do really enjoy the different fruits that come from the orchard. It varies from day to day. Sometimes I find these, sometimes I find emerald green looking apples, the most deepest amethyst purple apricots. It's quite interesting. And he shuffles one of, like, he gets like a pint, like one of the basket pints of plums, and puts them in front. And, you know, his gnarled hands are quite big. He's a fairly burly fellow for someone much older. That like very tan, sun-weathered skin. Doesn't have the same kind of depth of despair like other people and townsfolk have. It just seems like he sort of just exists here and just knows things. But he places the little pint of plums in front, and these ones are the freshest and have the most exuberant color to look like gems. They all tend to pick off the ones that are reminding them of bright, shiny things. And these ones in particular, and he pulls one up, and unlike the other ones where they do have like an awkward, crooked shape, these ones have more of a heart shape to them. And when he's not, there's lots of rumors of them enjoying more carony, meaty things. They do really love these ones.
She's learning a lot here. She's just like, but she's like nodding, and she's like, okay, lots of fruit, bright colors, meaty things, and so she's kind of like listening and nodding along, but trying to take a tack that's very much like focused on like, but what else would they like to eat? Just kind of making conversation, just being like, wow, it's just marvelous. They would go so nice in a pie, and
But she would just go like, well, they make a nice compote to put on top of like a liver or a steak. And very like deadpan goes about it.
Yeah. And writes in notebook. I think she's gonna push for one more bit of information, and we'll see.
Yeah.
And it's just gonna be a little like, I hope you don't mind me asking, and I hope you don't take offense, but why is everyone so uptight about this person?
Let me see. You know what? Give me a roll again. We'll determine my answer.
I can roll again. I can roll again because that does feel like a little bit of a push.
Yeah.
All right. That is, I can't remember. It's an 8. You got it up in front.
A success.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just flat success.
Just about.
So the caretaker, he goes back into that squint again, considering, sort of cocks his head a little bit. But he does get a little closer, as though to try and whisper to the dove. He's like, since you're new. There's quite a bit, but I'm sure you've heard of rumors of there being curses and the like.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
None of us
said it about 2 minutes ago, yes.
Yeah. None of us fully know where the Raven King came from. Even in my boyish days, he seemed to always have existed. But I remember a time where it wasn't as dark as it's been. And it's almost as though something's rotten. Something rotten has gotten in. Now, he sort of backs up a little bit again, adjusting the fruits on the stand. But whatever rot has brought, it has brought bounty.
Delicious as well. And a little like me, I suppose, in a way. No one really knows where I came from either.
Through just nods along to that and goes back to like making sure all the fruit is there. And he hasn't asked you for money or anything for it either. He's just sort of there. And then he goes to the wagon and starts to wander off. At the corner, some people are still keeping an eye on the dove, like sort of side-eyeing, some trying to listen in, and just once in a while the pittering of one of the little jay creatures on the rooftops skirting about.
Mm-hmm. All right. And I think that we can probably kind of end the scene there. I think she's got some information that she can, and some ingredient ideas, which was kind of the idea of the first phase, ingredient gathering and information gathering. So let's take a break.
Yeah.
And then at the beginning of the next phase, we'll ask each other the next question, and we'll go into sort of the next set of scenes. Thank you everyone who has joined us so far. We really appreciate you watching and sticking with us. I will remind you again that we have a giveaway on. So all you need to do, !enter, and you could be in with a chance to win a copy of this wonderful game, because it is super, super fun, and I'm really enjoying it so far. And I can't wait for can't wait for them to meet. All right, we'll be back in about 10 minutes or so. See you then. Bye. Hello, we are back.
Hello.
We just took a short break, stretch the old legs, ruffle the feathers, eat some snacks, keep hydrated, all the good stuff. And we are back with part 2 of our game of Insatiable Cravings. It is now that my cat has decided to come in, not any of the time before. Always the way. We have been playing this amazing game. We're having a lot of fun so far. We've created some interesting characters, not just our player characters, but I think even the characters that they're interacting with are really cool and interesting. We will now be moving on to phase 2. But before we do that, I will just remind everyone again that we have a giveaway going. Enter, so exclamation mark and the word enter to enter said giveaway. You could win a copy of Insatiable Cravings, this game that we are playing. And let me tell you, because I haven't said it enough yet, the graphic design on this game is
delicious.
Delicious. It is. It's so delicious and it's so good. And just even that, so much thought and detail has been put into the way that the game looks and feels and plays. So, we're really enjoying it. So yes, exclamation mark enter to enter the giveaway. And with that, we shall continue. Now, I believe that we have a question before we start the next phase that we need to ask each other. Let me remind myself of what that is. Okay, so you ask me first.
So, what dangers does one face when near the monster?
Ooh, that's a really interesting question. I think, and obviously, like, I go based solely really on what the admirer will have heard at this point. The pervading rumors, I think, are that the monster, first of all, the monster looks monstrous. So there's rumors that with claws and large teeth, talons, it's a very bird-like thing. So you could end up, the pervading thing is you could end up with your heart cut out. Other people have talked about how people that have returned from the monster's palace are a shell of themselves. They are no longer happy-go-lucky like you, miss. They're sort of like parts of them are missing. It's almost like they have no soul or essence or life. They look dusty. They look old. They look like a shell. I think that a lot of people think that the monster sort of sucks souls out of people or drains energy. People say that that's how the fruit is growing in the orchard, that the monster is using it to kind of like give life to the trees and keep the palace below ground running, using the energy of people and the souls that it harvests. So the dangers that one face is that you might lose your heart, you might lose your soul, you might lose a part of yourself. Like when people talk about the acolyte, they say that she's lost her mind to the monster. So something that makes you whole might be lost, and that's what people say that the monster will take from you.
I like it.
And now I will ask you, what does the admirer keep hidden?
I think at one point the Jays had noticed that she keeps some sort of like shiny trinket underneath the collar of her dress. And at one point when maybe she had bent over to adjust her shoe or to pick something up, it kind of tumbled out a bit, and it was just this clear, like beautiful, well polished silver locket. It has a single bright white, um, but they assume might be a diamond, just in like the sort of heart of the locket. Because they've only seen it ever from a distance, but they end up keeping it back underneath the front of her dress, not wanting to show it off. Especially after hearing how the Jays may try and come after it if they get too intrigued by something shiny. Or the acolyte will be mad that's not being offered.
That's very. Last thing we want to do is piss that woman off.
Mhm.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So like a nice sort of like little white stone embedded in it.
Mm.
Interesting. Okay. So now that we have asked our questions, let's head into phase 2. Phase 2, scene 1. And I believe at the start of this phase, we draw 3 cards each.
Yes.
Let's get on the right page, Kat. So for the first scene, let's draw those cards first. One thing at a time.
Yeah. And then we can discard up to 3 cards if we don't like what we picked. Oh, at the end of our last phase.
Wait, we should have drawn something to see if we could
want to change our craving card.
So let's do that now. We're playing this.
I like how we both thought of it at the same time.
we really did. Okay.
Good.
All right.
And then I'm gonna discard.
Okay. And then we can discard up to 3. Is that correct?
Yes.
3 that we don't like. Cool. I have discarded 3. All right. Now we're back on track. So we've done the card part. So now for scene 1, this is going to be sort of to answer the questions. And I am the first active player now for this scene. What are you cooking for the monster? What do others think of your visit with the monster? Is anyone trying to stop you? You are the scene director, so you get to play 2 mood cards. So we'll try to do it as we did it before. So play your first mood card, and then I will play 1, and then you play 1.
All right. Let's see what I have here. What's fun? Okay. I will play. Got a lot of this suit in hand. So 5 of clubs, which is somewhere extravagant.
Okay. So then spades.
Do a spade.
Or a diamond. I love the do a spade.
I think as director, if I don't have it, I get to discard and pull until I get one, right?
I think so. I think you discard and pull, but that's fine because I have spades aplenty. So I will do a spade. And I will say, so we've got extravagant. Let's go with sorrowful as our demeanor.
Right.
Well, it's up to you. You're the scene director, aren't you? So stop getting ideas.
That leaves atmosphere, which I have only one of these. I'm not quite sure what the word means.
Go on, say it.
Premonitory? Premonitory?
Premonitory. Okay, well, let me just look that up.
Everybody Google what this word is.
Giving you the feeling that something is going to happen, especially something unpleasant. So it's like from premonition, basically. You got an
Anticipation
feeling, but it's like an unsettling. It's like nerves, anxiety. It's like you've got this horrible feeling that something bad is going to happen. Is the mood here?
Ooh.
All right. Okay, so let me write that. Let me write that word down. That's a new one, you know. I haven't. I've heard of like premonition and stuff.
Yeah.
I haven't really come across that.
You know what? Now that you said premonition, I'm like, oh, that's it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so we have an extravagant location. We have a sorrowful NPC or NPCs, and we have a premonitory atmosphere. So an atmosphere or something that gives you an idea that something bad might happen.
So, to set the scene, what place could the dove cook other than with her friend the witch? And her abode is laced with almost like she has taken a pull from the raven himself, maybe from whatever past history they share that the dove has learned, but she has her own adornments of various hanging herbs and laces and silks and ribbons, fine velvet curtains, though dusted, hard, deep red wooden floors. She is set up quite well and has made quite an exuberant home within these dark spaces. And though the dove has been made welcome to be in this space until she finds her own footing in the town, there is some caution that the witch has around what she should be picking off the walls or from the herbs, and the witch noticing the dove's building curiosity around the raven. Curiosity that she herself was once familiar with.
Ooh. Backstory. All right, so she's kind of come in, I guess, and I think at this point probably the dove is cooking. I think that she's probably making she's making like a set of dishes. It's going to be for a starter, a main course, and a dessert, because she's heard that the raven is very extravagant, so we'll want courses rather than just like a sort of a buffet or whatever. I think that for the starter, well, I think for the main, she's making this kind of like very meaty. It's sort of like this, like a meat. It's not like a meat buffet, but there is like different types of meat on it. It's almost like a roast. It's like a very warm, rich foods, lots of herbs. She's making sure that all of the dishes that she makes have lots of different appealing colors. And I think that she's kind of using the witch's resources. Even she gets the sense, just based on the weird fruits, that the raven might like unusual looking things. So she's making it into sort of like an unexpected shape or look for the dish that she's making, and making like sort of like putting in interesting dyes and things like that to turn the color a different food, like to turn the food a different color to what you'd be expecting. And I think the main thing that she's making that she's exceptionally proud of is like a fruit pie. That's kind of, she's gone back over the course of the week and sort of got from the caretaker these different types of fruits, and she's turning them all into this sort of like delicious fruit pie, that's sprinkled with this sugar that's been like dipped in like a sort of oil that almost gives it this like effervescent rainbow sheen, and that's kind of like on the surface of the pie, yeah, I think she's just kind of like making these meals, 3 different courses, and is just sort of busying herself, singing to herself that same favorite tune that she so likes to sing, and seems very excited and chipper and happy, and she's got all sorts of different herbs and spices and ingredients on the various rackings around. It's impossible to tell which ones she's used and which ones she hasn't.
So as the dove is cooking away, she eventually hears just beyond her voice the creaking and thud of someone coming down the stairs. And the voice of the witch sort of calls out. It's like, oh dear, it's smelling so good. What are you doing down here? And she starts coming around the banister. Again, a very rotund woman. She has this crooked, kind of gnarled cane that she starts prodding along with, coming towards you. Bit of a sleepiness in her eyes, but has definitely perked up at the smell a little bit. But as she comes over, she sort of scans the scene and is seeing all this food. She's like, oh dear, you're making so much. Are you bringing company over? The 2 of us can't just eat all of this.
Oh no, this is a gift. I am cooking for someone else.
Someone else. As like, there is that little like high trill in her voice of nodding at that, but there's definitely behind her eyes that calculating like, okay, someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, it should be looking real extravagant and odd.
mm-hmm. And who is that someone else, dear?
I think she's built up enough of a rapport with this witch compared to the rest of the townsfolk that she doesn't feel like she needs to be as guarded around her and sort of be even deceiving. So I think she will turn and she will smile sweetly and she'll say, I am to go to dinner with the raven.
There's like that like uncomfortable silence and sort of like the drop of the cane. Give me a roll.
Yep. Oh, that's good. That's an 11. That's
Success with a card pull.
Yes. Oh, that's not bad actually. I had a very bad first roll, and then it's been okay since then. Okay, so let me just pull. I pull it from the deck, don't I?
Yeah.
Yes. Lovely. All right.
Yeah. So I think in that moment, you see like everything on this face where if it was anyone else, she probably would have hidden her emotions about it. But you see like that pained expression as she sort of comes over, like shuffling towards you, the cane having dropped away, and takes your hands. Just like, oh dear, you were summoned by him.
And I think again she realizes she's got enough of a sense now that everyone here is terrified of the raven. They all think they're a monster. She is very much a person that wants to make up her own mind and one way or another do something about it. If there is danger there, then she will deal with the danger, and if there is not danger there, then she will reveal the truth of the matter. That's her kind of goal. So I think she sort of takes takes the witch's hand back, in a very calm manner, and sort of helps her to a chair to sit, and she says, "I know you are frightened. I invited myself, and you need not worry about me."
Yourself. Oh, my
Yes,
dear child.
I wrote an invitation expressing that I would like to have dinner with the Raven, and to my surprise, my invitation was accepted.
Oh, and she like gently pats your hand, but there's now like a shakiness in her hands, and she stares at you with her big, now shining, from like bubbling tears, her eyes. She says, you need to be so careful. He will, oh dear, he'll just gobble up your heart. He's been looking for a new one for so long.
My heart shall remain safe. You need not fear. And she seems like to have this really strange level of confidence about her. And like almost like she seems confused. Like, well, of course I'm gonna be all right. But it's like it's not quite coming out as like naivety. It's more like she's just assured. She knows she's gonna be all right, and it's difficult to know whether it's just because she just really hasn't clicked for her yet, or she's really like she's got something up her sleeve, and it's very difficult to know which it is. And she kind of like she reaches and grabs sort of like a cloth and sort of dabs at the witch's eyes and says, "Why are you crying? Why is everyone so frightened?"
Give me another roll. I like rolls.
This is a 7. So I think that's a failure, isn't it?
Yes, it's the top of the failure, but it is just a flat failure. So she looks into the dove's eyes, and there's kind of the stillness coming back into her as a shaky hand kind of clasps the cheek on the dove. Oh, I had been like you once, dear. And she gets up from the chair. Oh, my cane. She starts to hobble over and picks up the cane, and now there's just that heaviness of sadness with her as she picks up the cane and puts it back comfortably in her hand and turns back to the dove. Are you so sure in pursuing this? You can just leave town.
And I think the dove is, at this point, she kind of sighs because she's been asking questions and getting so little in response of like why people are so frightened, apart from these sort of outlandish rumors that no one seems to be able to present her any real evidence of, I don't think. But like it's just that she's heard all of these really wild tales, and but no one is giving her like any kind of real root cause. No one can say to her, look at this thing, this is why you should be scared. And she really thought that this would be the moment. If anyone was going to open up to her, it was going to be the witch, and this would be the moment that the witch would say, sit down, this up, let me show you all the things, let me make you understand, let me give you something solid and tangible that will make you frightened. And again, it's just, oh, are you sure, because I don't think you should be doing it, and it's very like vague answers, and she sort of sighs, and she says, curiosity is in my nature, and I am a dove. So is hope. I cannot provide hope to eradicate something that I do not understand. And if none of you will provide me the answers that I need, then I must go to the source.
Well, my dear, I cannot. Nothing can dissuade you beyond what all of us have said. Well,
Just
the
be
pain.
assured that I am well protected. I have protections in place.
Good. Good. And she shuffles over to this cabinet the dove has come to recognize as this sort of mahogany painted black, and there's various trinkets of like oddities and macabre things like bones and stuff in it. And she pulls out a little, at first you think maybe it's like a perfume or something in the shape of the bottle. It is a black sort of crystal in a kind of a teardrop shape, and it has a dark cork with a bit of wax on the top that's sealing it down. And she begins to shuffle over with it. It pains me too much. I wasn't always the witch. I was once a little nightingale. But if you think truly you can find their hope, then maybe you have a chance. But otherwise, and she puts the bottle on the table, if you think you are ever in fear of losing yourself, be another. I hope you be a witch with me if you can. Maybe the acolyte might get her little talons in you too. Though I would throw my cane at her if she tried. Just take this so I can feel a little safer.
She does take it. She picks it up and she pockets it. She makes a great show of like being careful with it and pocketing it.
Do you ever think they do anything untoward? Sprinkle that in the food. You know what that means. I was hoping to eat after all this smells, and she starts shuffling away.
Fear not, I shall make us some dinner shortly. She kind of like
Oh, good.
and end the scene there. And we swap now?
Yes. So we discard stuff on the board.
That's
we
right.
Go to scene 2.
Go to sleep. There we go. All right. Scene 2. Okay. So now I am going to be the scene director. You are going to be your monstrous self. Okay. So the questions in mind: is your lair fit for a human to visit? Must you emerge into the public to acquire something? Is anyone trying to stop you? And I, being the scene director, get to play 2 mood cards. So what do I have here? Let's see. I have this. Okay. And I have all right. I think I'm going to play the Queen of Diamonds and have our atmosphere be quiet.
Hmm. Let's see. I only got one choice here. Okay, I'm gonna do a location.
Mhm.
And I'm gonna play Queen of Clubs, somewhere hideous.
Somewhere hideous.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. All right. Okay. That's an interesting one. Uh, hideous location that is quiet, and the NPC demeanor is going to be short. I guess means a little bit of attitude.
Yeah.
All right. All right. So, in that case, so what have we got? NPC demeanor short. What can I think of that will be hideous and quiet? I think let's just change this to C2. I think that the now this might be a little bit of an odd take on hideous,
Hmm.
but I think it might be hideous to the raven. I think we are in the ballroom.
Oh.
And I think because the rest of the castle is so beautifully polished, the walls are just like practically made, like everything is expensive and made of like the most there's jewels everything on everything, bedazzling everything, gold, precious
Black
metals.
marble.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous. And all of the fine detailing on all the decorations and everything, the drapes, finery. You've got Jays working round the clock to get rid of every single speck of dust. And there's just this one room in the whole place that is hideous in that when you compare it to the rest of the castle, it looks awful. It's to the unassuming, it's just a bit of a dusty ballroom, but something in the energy of this place is quiet and revolting. It kind of it makes it's the one place in the castle that can make the raven's skin crawl, I think, in how unclean it is and how drab it is and empty and obviously you get to decide why it is kept that way. I think it must represent something that has happened in the raven's past, or a moment in the raven's life that it's got to be kept that way, but it still is hideous. I think the NPC I'm going to introduce, it is going to be AJ, but it is going to be the butler.
Yes.
And I think that while we talked about like a lot of the different like some really the oldest J in the place. It's sort of like shriveled, feathers are mostly molted off, got a little bit of a like a, not what are they called, what the turkey has, but it's like a
Oh yeah, like that hanging skin around the neck.
Yeah, I think that this J looks almost vulture-like. It's it's very like shriveled up and old, and you can see like the sort of like where the feathers used to grow that they don't grow anymore. It's got like patches, bald patches, and it is the oldest and most faithful jay in the Raven service. But unlike the acolyte, who, you know, the Raven has to keep appeased and everything, this has a little bit of a sort of short, sort of almost sassy attitude about them, and is able to speak candidly with their master in a way that the master will not allow anyone else to, because it's there's just that the years long of before some inciting incident. This jay was around even before then, and knows the master on a level that no one else does in some way, I think. So what do you think the Raven is doing in this room?
Yeah. So the Raven has walked into the ballroom, leaving that trail of design footprints, since they have that long cape that traces behind them, so it becomes just a path in the dust along the ballroom floor. The soft clicks of their feet hitting the floor, echoing off the hollowed walls, and they stand in the space for a moment, peering at it, uncomfortable, trying to think what they could possibly do, and yet the distant memories of what was, of what it had been before, they can't figure out how they can repaint all of that in their mind. They can redrape everything to fit something more pleasing to what things are now. And he stands just in the middle of the space, contemplating. He's given his orders to the Jays to set up to the dining room, making sure everything along the way that the dove would take is clean and polished and shimmering, and no Karen or anything has been left about. Sometimes the Jays get messy, but it's fine as long as they clean it up after. But he looks back towards the giant stone marbled doors that are inlaid with opal and golds. Very faded on the interior side in the ballroom, but with them opened, he can see the glinting of them on the other side where the Jays had been so diligently polishing them up.
And I think not long after it, from behind, and I do think that this butler is probably the only Jay that is allowed in this room. And the Raven hears the sort of like slow, steady footsteps sort of descending down the stairway, and sort of that instant freezing of who is in here, and then recognizing the footfalls. Oh, okay, it's the butler, that's fine. And butler sort of makes their way. They're not trying to be quiet or anything like that. They're just being slow because of their age. Makes their way down the stairs and sort of approaches, and then stands next to the Raven and sort of bows their head and says, "Everything is being cleaned as you requested, your lordship."
Good. Want to make sure we leave a good impression on our guest.
And there's a sort of like I think there's like a pause, and then it's just, "I must say, young master, I have not seen you take this level of interest or clean with this level of diligence for a guest in quite some time."
It has been a while, has it not? Seems in the past few decades, it's only ever been inviting those to partake in their energies. But I'm intrigued what this one might bring. She's the only cheerful one in town. Do you remember the last time the town has ever seen such things, has ever been so cheerful?
Not for quite some time. I don't remember in years. How does that make you feel?
I just feel empty. Ever since I decided to nourish the earth here. And he sort of plucks a little bit at the plumage over the part where a heart would be. I can't quite remember the last time I really felt much.
The butler kind of nods their head slowly. Do a roll for me.
Rolls. Yeah. Yay, my turn to do good. It's 10.
I am basing this a little bit on how much the butler is going to be honest. Depends on how well you roll. So I think the butler kind of thinks about it for a moment. You know, they say that this dove that you have become interested in, their laughter and smile will light up a room, and their song will instill hope in any heart. Do you think that perhaps meeting them could help you?
The thought does come to mind, and he sort of turns his head up and looks into like the troughs of the space, seeing the very old, like just caked with dust, the tapestries that come down of scenes from long, long ago, but they're so faded he can't make out whether it's happy scenes or sad. I can't even remember the last time someone has smiled at me.
And and this is the thing, he doesn't smile at you. He's got this kind of permanently like grumpy look to him. And he sort of looks up as well, and above your head, something that now you are both looking up at, you can see, is the ceiling is not a ceiling in the same way it is in all of the other rooms. It is actually a mess of tangled roots, essentially, from various different trees. And within this tangle of roots seems to be this sort of like slightly beating, pulsing shape. And of course, you know what it is, but he turns to you, and I want you to roll for me again.
Okay. Ooh. All right. You know what? I have something by hand because I can play this once. I'm going to do a reroll.
You can play it. Go for it.
There we go. A 10 again.
10 again. He turns to you and he looks you in the eye and he says, "Would you like me to clean the ballroom?"
And at those words, knowing this long history where it's more of a weird friendship, even if neither one of them addresses as such.
Uh-huh.
There's just that lift of that cold, stern, monstrous energy breaks a little bit. Yes, I think you would know what to do with this space.
Yes. The time has come. And he sort of turns around and he sort of clicks his talons at sort of three nearby Jays that are sort of cleaning in the corridor outside and beckons them. And they look very like, are you sure? They sort of they sort of scamper forward in this sort of almost like service of like, oh, I'm gonna get over there, and then they stop short in the archway and they look between sort of the two of you, and he sort of taps his toe talons impatiently on the floor, and he's like, yes, come in quickly, and they kind of like sort of slowly move in, but you can see that they're very nervously looking at you.
Yeah.
They think that they're about to possibly just be killed just for even setting foot in here, and seem surprised but don't question when they are not immediately immolated. And they just sort of then turn their attention to the butler, and he's very and it's really funny because he's such a like sort of doddering old creature, but when it comes to getting people in line and getting things done, it's all very quick. He sort of rattles off instructions in that sort of clicking language that we sort of mentioned at the start, and they kind of nod their heads, and he's sort of like gesturing here, there, and everywhere, and you know, sort of more start to swarm into the room, and it's unsettling and it's unnerving having so many people in this space that is so empty, and has been for so long, and yet at the same time, it almost feels nice because you remember a time when this place was full of people, just briefly, and it wasn't empty in here, and I feel like that's kind of where we can end the scene. I don't know. Was there anything else that you wanted to?
Yeah, I think at most the Raven just sort of regards as all the Jays come in and start working the way, and the butler gives out the orders, and as the Raven King just back into their stoic stance goes to walk out, he does turn to the butler, say, make sure you have your best vocalists learn the song she likes. And then he leaves.
Oh, this is so cute, or potentially terrible.
Yep.
All right, so we have reached the end of phase 2, scene 2. Now we get to draw another card each and see if we would like to change our craving card. So let's do that.
In mind. I'll clear our board here.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yes, let's clear the board.
Okay, there you go.
Okay. Oh, all right. Let's see what happens now. So we are now in our final phase. I'm going to change over on the play mat to page 2. Sorry, everyone, it's a little clunky. There we go. Okay. So, now with this, essentially, this is no longer role play in the same way, I don't think. If I'm remembering correctly, I'm just finding the page now.
It's revealing our hands, basically.
We now reveal our hands. So player plays a card face up, saving any betrayal cards, which are hearts, for last. We declare what the card represents, be it a fancy tablecloth, a unique spice, anything that sets the stage and makes the event special. The card could also represent an action, a flirtatious look, a dance, pulling of the chair. If you're the admirer, we then sort of speak to telling the monster why it was so important that you met with them. Then the monster will tell the admirer why they were one of the few or the only to receive an invitation to the lair. And then if we have betrayal cards, we may reveal them from the lowest to the highest value, and we will declare what they represent in terms of protection, I guess, or things that might have a more sinister intent that we have also prepared. So whereas all the other cards kind of are sort of like things that might be positive or things that we've like worked hard on, the heart cards are the betrayal cards. So you might have like a poison or a trap or something that you also say, I also have this on me should I need it. Then we come to outcomes afterwards. So let's start then. So let's take it in turns. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
Let's see. Yeah, I have 3 cards plus my craving card. Is the craving card played with this, or is that during the outcome? Or is it all
The
together?
craving card is at the end. That's the last thing that we reveal, and then look at what the craving card is in terms of suits and how many hearts cards we have. And if we both have hearts cards and have pulled the same thing, then it's the highest value, I think. Okay. But we'll look at the outcomes and then we'll figure that stuff out. All right. So I've got 4 in my hand. So then maybe I should go first.
Yeah, you can start. You can bookend it.
All right. So my dove arrives and is most likely escorted in. And I am going to say I'm going to play this diamond, 9 of diamonds, and I'm going to say that the first thing that I have kind of arrived with is this. I have put on a perfume that I have sort of gathered information on what the raven might like, and it is this from the information of the kind of foods they like. I have realized that they live underground in a pretty probably musty smelling castle. So I have bought lots of different scents that will smell like sort of the outside, and it's sort of like a very flowery, almost fruity scent because they like fruit. And it might not just be the colors and the textures of the fruit that they like, it might also be the scent of the fruit. So I think that the dove has kind of taken some of these interesting fruits and has made them into like a sort of like mixed them into a perfume alongside sort of her favorite flowers, and has created this like very appealing, which might not help me, very appealing scent that sort of like almost sort of brings sort of like this outdoor sunshine, daylight energy into the place with her, and that is going to be my first thing.
All right. Play mine, which is 9 clubs. So when the dove comes into this space, it is very sparkling and shining just everywhere. Any light catches a glint. There's always something sparkling. any fabrics have like threads of silvers and golds. And as she gets paraded, sort of through, ushered by all the jays that are sort of been asked to dress up themselves, so all their plumage is now kind of cleaned up a bit. The ones that are a little more scraggly have tried to like smooth it all out and wear like little bow ties or
Yes,
whatever
I
they
knew it was
need.
bow ties.
Yeah.
I was so
Um,
ready.
and just even like spats. They don't wear shoes, but they have spats on anyway, trying to look as fancy as possible. They've been told to impress, so they're trying very hard. And they escort the dove in, making the best first impression of, yay, we're minions, but aren't we adorable? You love us too, right?
Trying to look as cute as possible, basically.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, my next thing I'm going to play is the outfit that the dove has chosen to wear. Is you know, I think that what she has picked up on is that everyone's attitude has been like, don't blend in, don't talk too much, don't ask too many questions, don't appear as like a pretty trinket, because the raven might take interest in you. And I think that, you know, she's trying to show this raven that she's not like everyone else, and that hopefully it's someone that they can open up to in some way. She's trying to appear as a friend, someone that is willing to, you know, try to attract their attention. So I think that the dove has has dressed up in this, and I wish I had a dress that actually matched this. A gorgeous sort of like it is this beautiful white dress with like sort of sparkling gemstones affixed to it of various different natures, and then the sleeves sort of drape down so that when she raises her arms, they almost seem like wings behind her. It is a floor-length gown and tasteful, but it is bedazzling. It is, and it's definitely not anything that the dove has kind of worn before. It's almost like it's you know, she's covered in shinies.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks very unique. Like, this is not the kind of stuff that the villagers wear. This is not the kind of, she's almost kind of like dressed as flamboyantly as the raven themselves would be, which is hopefully intriguing to the raven. And she clearly put a lot of effort in. Like, this is all handmade, hand sewn, and I think like covered in like very interesting, almost like whimsical. It's clearly not made of like expensive fabrics, but the fabrics that have been used instead are like very like interesting, like natural materials that imitate certain fabrics, like chiffon and stuff like that. Like she might have like got like beetle shells and stuff and kind of like sewn those in to kind of almost look like jewels and things like that. So yeah.
All right. Next card. There we go. 10 of spades.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's going to be more of an action moment. So, as the dove comes into the space, the raven is already standing by the doorway into the dining hall. And where with the acolyte, we saw them be very stern and sort of. There was a coyness to it, but it was still like a very power dynamic of I can take you and eat you if I have to. But in this moment where he sees the dove, he just brings out in a very fluid motion their hand to take hers and bring them into the dining space. and they're walking a very light step. You can barely hear their feet fall on the floor. It's just a very fluttery, dance-like movement. And even when with the hand, it's very gentle. He basically keeps only his long, like the tips of his long fingers on her hand, as though to just let her be more of a driving force of herself than him trying to completely lead her in. There's no force, no grab. It's just a very like light, feathered touch.
Mm-hmm. All right. My next card is going to be the reveal of the food, because I think it's been bought in this like basket, and obviously maybe the Jays immediately took it from her the moment that they kind of escorted, and they've kind of come in behind, and
just in a parade of them jostling, like
a little
yay!
parade in their little bow ties and their spats, and they kind of set it on the table, with the thought that they will probably unload sort of the starter, and then they will take everything else out to the kitchen. But it's kind of a big show. She wants to show off what she has made, and I think it's the appetizer is the Dove's favorite. It's like she's made something that she enjoys eating and is like very representative of her. Then the main is sort of like this very meaty, delicious, like rich, lots of gravy and bold but like dark carnal colors, and then the fruit pie, and that's the one that she's very proud of, clearly, and she kind of presents it, and she says and that's for you, and she smiles and doesn't probably even realize what she's saying, but she says, to show off the fruits of your labor.
Interesting. Okay. Well, I realized my last card. Unless you have any that aren't a betrayal card. Last card.
Oh, okay. Well, I do have one more card.
Okay.
And all right, let's think what this could be. Let's think what this could be. I think that you have the music playing, don't you? So I think that as this music is kind of like sort of echoing through the halls, and playing softly in the background, she would notice that it's her favorite song, and I think that she would it's like an earworm, and she can't stop herself, and I think that she would start to sing along. I think that she would like deliver a I'm not gonna do it, but she would deliver a vocal performance, not in like a show off kind of way, but more in like she sort of starts humming the tune, and it's almost absent-minded, and then when she realizes that she's being watched and it seems to be being appreciated, she will like pile the lyrics on top of it, and it's a very like heartfelt song about very like sort of like sincere and sweet, hopeful, understanding, and friendship, and maybe something more, just like when you're curious about something and the good things that can come out of that. It's very like uplifting and hopeful song, basically. Yeah, and I maybe this is the first time that the Ravens actually heard the lyrics, because it's always been like hummed or sort of just like sung on her breath, but this is the first time that she's actually sung lyrics out loud. All right. Well, I guess this answers the question.
Well, I gotta play my last card. It's not my craving card.
Yeah, that's fine. But we've got
So
to play betrayal cards now. So
Yeah.
what nasty thing you got up your sleeve?
Well, there's only one thing I can offer because it is just the one card. But behind the tapestries and the drawn curtains, any nooks and crannies, the roots have curled their way in, and underneath the beats of the music, there is just a steady thrum of a slowed heartbeat. With every beat of its heart, the roots continue to curl and make their way around, ready to lock in a meal when it's ready.
Oh, well, in case you were wondering, I have no hearts cards to play, and I think we flash back to a moment where she is at the threshold. She's just thinking about the various protections that she's got in place. This sort of like herb garnish that was actually some poison, and this stone around her neck that was a sort of protection amulet given to her a long time ago, and this what the witch gave her as also this third layer of protection. And just before she reaches the threshold, she stops and she thinks, and she does something brave, and she finds a nearby sort of hole in a tree, and she takes those things off one by one. She kind of puts the herbs aside, or the poison aside. She puts the sort of 2 jewels nestled in with it in this tree, because she has decided she will not sacrifice her own hope that this is something that this could be something that can be remedied without violence, and she remains hopeful. That whole shtick. So, all right. So the roots are coming in, and you've got that 1 heart card. So I think now, unless I am very much mistaken, I think we have one more question to ask each other, and this feels like before we reveal our craving card, this feels like a good time to just maybe ask this question.
I got mine.
Yeah, I think you get to ask your question first anyway.
Yeah. So, what's the least monstrous part about the monster?
Oh, this is the perfect time to ask these questions. I just read them and I was like, oh yeah, this is the perfect time. The least monstrous part about the monster. I think it's not that, you know, that everything that the villagers have told her seems to at least be half true. They imagine this really terrifying, like physically hideous monster, like bird-like monster, and there is some element of that. There is sort of like these talons and these sort of almost like where feathers would grow kind of up on the arms and stuff, but it's not physically hideous. It's just, you know, interesting.
Mm.
And I think there's like everything seems to be a half truth. It's like exaggerated. The castle is beautiful instead of this horrible twisted thing, but there is these sort of roots that sort of seem to be pervading some of the walls and stuff that she's noticed. She probably doesn't really understand what they are, but she guesses it's just roots from it's underground, right? And things like that. So it's like half truths. But I think the thing that is the least monstrous part, and the thing that she was probably not prepared for, because everyone has told her about this monster's horribly cold eyes and how they let no emotion in, especially the acolytes, who over the last few days seems to have taken somewhat of an interest and has opened up a little bit more to her about like the monster and things, and nothing can penetrate that gaze that penetrates is something that she will say a lot. But just in certain moments during the meal, she senses some sense of like there's emotion in those eyes, and she can't. It's only there for brief seconds. It comes when she sings. It comes when she shows off this pie. It comes in these moments, and she can't concentrate on it enough to place exactly what the emotion is, but that is immediately disbanding this idea that nothing can penetrate this hard heart or lack of heart that she's heard about, because she can see it immediately. Like, she's managing it at least a few times during this meal very easily. So I think that's what the least monstrous part about it is their eyes. It's my turn to ask. Which piece of the admirer looks the most delicious?
See, the funny part is, as the Amira is taking in the monster's eyes, he's also taking in her eyes.
Mm-hmm.
When he's asked his Jays to describe her in those days leading up to this dinner, they had mentioned, oh, she has eyes like these bright, sparkling gems. They're always so shining when she's smiling or singing or happy, which intrigued him. And as the pair sit at the table and partake in the meal, they're very much like keeping watch on her face and taking in what her eyes look like as she watches them. And even as they recognize she's not judging them in the same way as everyone else, she doesn't show that scared reverence like the acolyte, or whatever sorrow the last time he has ever seen the witch, or just the off-ish nature of the caretaker, even amongst his jays, which probably the most cheerful creatures down here. He just sees them looking into her eyes and thinking, oh, those would probably taste like my plums, I think.
I love that. All right. I guess now we get to reveal our craving card. So I'm gonna do it on the. Let's do it on the mat.
Okay.
So just remind myself. Okay. So on the count of 3, we will. Can you see how to make the transparency at the top?
Yes, I got it.
Yeah. So on the count of 3, we will put the transparency of the suit that we have to 100, and we will see if it's a red or a black card. And I believe if it's a red card, we intend to harm the other, and if it's a black card, we intend to not harm the other, essentially. So 3, 2, 1, go. Oh no, I can't see what you've done.
Oh no, I can't see yours either.
Oh no. on the?
Oh, I see mine on Twitch. Mine's up on Twitch.
Is mine up on Twitch?
Unless we both clicked the same one by accident.
Oh no, I think we did. Okay, but that's funny. Do you know why that's funny? Because that means that we've got the same suit.
Yeah.
I did. I clicked yours by mistake. I was like sitting there like, why is mine not up? Okay, cool. Great. So we both picked black, which means that we are not intending to betray the other. We both happen to have a spades card, which made that really funny. That's good. That's good.
Yay!
Okay. So let me go to the outcomes table and just see what this means, because we need to check, because you do have hearts. So
yeah,
you did have a heart. So I need to check what that means. It might not be the good ending, everyone. Let's chill out for a second.
So if I'm player 1, then we are scenario 4.
Scenario 4. I love this very much as the ending. The character that has the craving card of black, but has got hearts in their thing. So in this case, the monster attempts a betrayal, but is not able to see it through. So essentially, they had the intention of betraying, but is not able to bring themselves to do it for whatever reason. I think this is where you get to now kind of talk about how that looked.
Yeah, so I think as the dinner kind of came to an end, we finished the dessert. Everything was delicious and almost surprising to the raven. The roots are still sort of clinging in the crevices of the walls, waiting in anticipation. The raven leads the dove to the ballroom, and there's like a brief moment as they cross the threshold where just the ever so slight hesitantness of it as he looks back at her and as very much turned facing her as he leads her in. And the music is stronger in here, so there's that heartbeat isn't being heard. And as he looks at her face and sees her smile, those delicious looking eyes that are now seeming more not food but just human and looking at him like they're also just equal. Just still for a moment as they reconsider the moment, and their body's already acting in terms of leading her into a dance with the song, and instantly forgetting that pained, hollowed hunger where he feels no heartbeat in his chest anymore. And yet there is just an ever so slight flitter of something there.
I think that what she baked into that pie, using all the witch's knowledge and everything like that, is a heart seed. And upon seeing her and kind of feeling that emotion, that is what nourishes that seed, and it sort of takes root. It wraps itself around sort of the rib and begins to grow a new heart for the monster, a strong one that beats and feels, and it was still a risk, because in order for it to grow, that the monster needed to feel an emotion of their own that was like a positive one. It needed something to feed it, to nurture it. It couldn't just be like, hey, I just plopped a heart in you, problem solved. But that it's always about hope with the dove, I think. And so it's just this mostly perfect solution that just requires just a little bit of hope, and hopefully he will feel something. I can make him smile, I can make him laugh, or do something, or feel something that will nurture that seed, and it will cause this to grow, and hopefully from there we can and I think that, like, because that was her whole thing, she said she wanted to make him smile, and I think he does when he can sort of feel that heart growing and it becomes something. And now suddenly there's emotion and there's feeling, and he feels like a person again. They might not be physically changing necessarily, or if that is to happen, that will happen over a slower period of time. But it's just more like that, that emotion in their eyes that she kept seeing flickers off. She can now see it properly. It's like they're waking up, in a way. And she kind of smiles, and she's just like, are you feeling better? Yeah, and maybe they just, I don't know, maybe they just dance to the song, and they get to just, it's so cute, and they get to have a happy ending.
Yay!
She's rid the curse, or whatever. And I don't know, these roots are probably still nurtured because there is a heart that is feeding them, but it's not, it doesn't require their sacrifice anymore. It doesn't require the monster's sacrifice anymore, and now it's like something that they can work on and figure out together, rather than it just being this like, oh well, I guess this is what I have to do now. All right, everyone, and that concludes our game of Insatiable Cravings, which was absolutely so much fun.
I like this fairy tale.
Yeah, it was a really cute fairy tale. I think we did some good nods to the source materials that we discussed in our session 0, but we made it our own, and it was a very, very sweet tale. Cool. I am gonna get us to introduce ourselves and plug ourselves. I hate saying it like that. That sounds really bad. Plug the things that we do. And while we do that, you all only have that amount of time to enter the giveaway. Exclamation mark enter. I can't say words today. Type exclamation mark enter into the chat if you have not already, and you wish to enter for a chance to win this game, which has been absolutely phenomenal. I'll let you go first. Tell us about yourself.
For sure. So, hi, and thank you for watching us play this delightful game. My name is Natalie. Find me on most places on the internet with Ghost Candle or Ghostly Candle on Twitch and YouTube. I'm an artist day and night, but I also like to join people in their games, so I'm found as a professional actual play person. So if you liked what you see here, you can also find me doing more play stuff in other places. I will be over on Horde of Tales on Monday as part of the Women in Gaming month. So we are doing a fun little game about being in a theater, and I've got a fun actor character, and I can't wait to chew up the scenery. If this hasn't revealed anything about me, you're going to have even more of it, so make sure you go over there. Otherwise, again, follow me on socials for all the things that are coming up. There's things have yet to be announced that are coming, and it will come. I promise. It's happening.
Things that have yet to be announced that are coming. I love that. Cool. Thank you so much for playing with me, Natalie.
Thank you for having me.
Kat, otherwise known as the Law Mistress, or Law Mistress 93 is where you can find me on most socials. I'm on Twitter because I refuse to call it X most actively, but you'll find me on Blue Sky and Threads as well. I am a writer, an editor, dipping my toes in various pies, but mostly I do actual play performance and GMing. I was just on Horde of Tales, and you can find the VOD for our game of Clean Spirit on over on their channel. But what's coming up for me? Well, tomorrow I'm streaming again. This time with Jen Burb. And we will be playing the finale of our game of Follow Me Down, which is a two-player game like this, in which you are reenacting a version of the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, which is an excellent, happens to be my favorite myth. So do check that out and check out the previous. You can find on my YouTube channel the previous two. But yeah, come and join us for our finale and see how Cyril and Kaylee do. Then on Sunday, and I'm very, very excited about this. I began my actual play streaming career really over on Girls Run These Worlds, and I was DMing Therosian Odyssey, which was an ancient Greece themed campaign, and we did 2 seasons over there. It is now moving over to my channel for season 3, Tides of Volition. It was season 2, sorry. Season 3 is called Isles of Uncertainty, and we will be beginning this Sunday, same time slot as we always had, so 3 p.m. GMT, for a few hours every other Sunday, so it will be bi-weekly or fortnightly. I'm very, very excited. Our first 5 sessions are going to be reintroducing our characters, so they're going to be solo sessions, which is going to be interesting, and then we will be bringing everyone back together, and that's again with Jen Burb. I've got a fun filled few days, but I'm very much looking forward to it. So those are the 2 immediate things that are coming up, and that's all I'll sort of plug for now because we have run over time a bit. But now, though, I'm going to draw this entrant and see who has won. So, drum roll. It is Ren! Ren has won! Very, very excited for Ren because I know that Ren was intrigued about this game, very intrigued about this game. So congratulations, Ren. I will be getting in contact with you because I have your socials anyway, so I can do so, even if you are not here right now. With that said, thank you for joining us. We're going to be hopping off now, flying away, spreading our wings, and
taking flight.
We're taking flight, soaring through the sky. Thank you for joining us. See you again soon. Have a lovely time zone. Cheerio.
Bye.